ready to move your feet and maybe even rewire your brain a little.
Sounds intriguing.
Our deep dive today is all about dance, but not just the fun kind, though there's plenty of that. You sent in this article, Neurological Benefits of Dance, Enhancing Cognitive Function. And we're diving into how dance can actually boost brain power.
I think a lot of people might be surprised to hear that. When we think about dance, we think of it as physical, maybe social, not necessarily something that impacts, how we think.
Exactly. So we're going to unpack how this works. But first, can you believe our brains can actually be rewired through dance?
It's true. Our brains have this incredible thing called neuroplasticity. Basically, it means our brains can change and adapt throughout our lives, and dance, with its mix of mental and physical challenges, is like the ultimate brain workout.
It's way more captivating than those brain training games I've tried.
Right. And one of the big things the article stresses is that mind-body connection.
Yeah, it keeps coming up. So how does moving our bodies translate to sharper minds?
Well, every time you dance, your brain is flooded with sensory information and has to make sense of it all, coordinating your movements, responding to the music, navigating the space around you. And that takes serious brain power. It's a workout for your mind just as much as your body.
So my brain is basically conducting an orchestra just to keep me on beat.
Love that analogy. Because, like a conductor, your brain is orchestrating different regions to work together seamlessly, which strengthens them.
So are we ready to break down exactly which regions are involved in this brain-boosting dance party? The article does a great job of walking us through them.
Let's do it. Each one plays a specific role in making dance possible. For starters, let's talk about coordination.
Makes sense. Dance is all about coordinating your movements, from those first basic steps to like nailing a complex routine.
Right, and all that coordination is thanks to your motor cortex. It's the control center for movement. So when you dance, you're essentially giving your motor cortex a workout, which makes it more efficient. Have you ever noticed how when you first learn a new routine, it feels impossible?
Oh, tell me about it. I've definitely had my fair share of dance-induced stumbles.
But then you practice, and something amazing happens. The moves get smoother, more natural. That's your motor cortex learning and adapting.
So dance is like building brain muscle memory, not just physical muscle memory. But what about the sensory experience? There's so much going on. The music, the feeling of moving your body.
Absolutely. It's incredibly stimulating, and your brain is taking it all in. Think about it. You're responding to the music, maybe even a partner, and the space around you. It's a full-on sensory workout.
Our brains make it look so effortless, but I'm realizing now how much is going on behind the scenes. Speaking of which, what about the mental focus involved? Learning new steps, remembering sequences, staying in sync? It requires a lot of concentration.
You're right. And that mental discipline you build through dance, it actually carries over into other areas of your life. It's like you're training your brain to be more focused and attentive no matter what you're doing.
Okay, I'm already convinced. Dance. Not just fun, but good for the brain. Now, I'm dying to know more about these specific brain regions involved.
Let's do it. We'll start with a region you might remember from biology class, the cerebellum.
Cerebellum. It's all about balance and coordination, right? Like, I'm picturing those diagrams from school.
Exactly. It's tucked away back there, but it's essential for making all those graceful, fluid movements in dance possible. Think of it as like a conductor for your body, making sure everything moves together smoothly.
So when a dancer moves so effortlessly, it's really their cerebellum working behind the scenes.
Totally. And it's not just the big movements either. The cerebellum also handles those finer details, the flick of a wrist, the precise footwork, the timing. It's all about precision. And that's where the cerebellum shines.
It's like having a built-in dance instructor in our brains. But what about when you've learned a routine so well? Your body just seems to know what to do next without even thinking about it.
That, my friend, is your basal ganglia at work. It kicks in when we're talking about habits, patterns, those automatic movements. It's like your brain's storage system for those well-rehearsed dance routines, so you don't have to consciously think about every single step.
So the cerebellum is coordinating and the basal ganglia is like, I got this, let's keep moving.
Exactly. And the more you practice those routines, the more ingrained they become in your basal ganglia. So those movements become smoother, more automatic. It's that I could do this in my sleep feeling.
Which is pretty amazing when you think about it. But speaking of amazing, what about those really complex routines with tons of steps? How do dancers remember all of that?
Time to bring in another brain region, the hippocampus. That's your memory center. And it plays a huge role in spatial navigation, too. Basically, every time you're learning a dance routine, your hippocampus is creating a mental map of all those steps and sequences.
So it's not just muscle memory. We're talking about boosting actual long-term memory through dance.
You got it. And here's the amazing thing. This memory boost, it doesn't just apply to dance steps. By engaging your hippocampus through dance, you're giving it a workout that can actually benefit your memory in all areas of life.
Dance. It's like
So,
cross-training for your brain. I'm loving this.
Mhm.
But we can't forget the music itself. That's a huge part of the dance experience.
Absolutely. And how our brains process music is just as fascinating as how they handle the movement itself. Remember how we talked about the sensory cortex earlier? Well, within that, there's a section called the auditory cortex.
Right, and that's where our brains are processing the sounds, in this case, the music.
Exactly. So you're not just hearing the music, your brain is interpreting it, letting it guide those movements. You're feeling the rhythm in your whole body. And that process can actually strengthen your auditory processing abilities.
Wow. I never thought about it that way, but it makes so much sense. So dance is making us better listeners, not just better dancers.
Think about it. When you're dancing, you have to be really tuned in to the music, the beats, the melodies, the changes in tempo. It's like your auditory system is getting a workout.
We've covered coordination, memory, sensory processing, and now even how we listen. It's clear this is way more than just physical. But before we move on, I have to ask about rhythm. The article really emphasizes how important it is, and not just in the music makes you want to move kind of way.
It's deeper than that. Think about it. Our brains are hardwired to respond to rhythm. Our heartbeat, the cycles of nature rhythm, is fundamental to how we experience the world.
So when we dance, we're connecting to that on a deeper level.
Exactly. And it has a pretty incredible effect on our brains. For one thing, it strengthens our ability for something called rhythmic timing.
Rhythmic timing. Okay, I need you to break that one down for me.
Well, when you're dancing, you're not just reacting to the music, you're anticipating what comes next.
Right.
The beat, the next step, even what your partner is going to do, that's rhythmic timing.
So my brain is like one step ahead of the music, always trying to predict.
That's a great way to put it. And that skill, anticipating and syncing with those external rhythms, it's not just helpful in dance. Think about it. Good rhythmic timing can make you a better listener in general, maybe even a better communicator, because you're more tuned in to those subtle cues.
Wow. So all those years of dance classes are paying off in ways I never even considered.
It's true. And the article also goes into beat perception, which is closely related. It's your brain's ability to really identify and track the beat.
Like having a built-in metronome.
Exactly. And just like a musician trains their ear to hear those subtle things in music, dancers develop this really amazing awareness of beats and rhythms. That translates to better auditory processing overall, which we need for everything from understanding language to, like you said, being more in tune with those subtle communication cues.
So dance is basically a workout for my ears too. My mind is blown. But I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on the more therapeutic side dance, because we've talked about all these amazing benefits for the brain. But what about using dance as a tool for healing and self-expression?
Absolutely, and the article touches on this too. Dance therapy, or DMT, is a fascinating field. It basically takes all these incredible benefits we've been talking about and applies them therapeutically.
So it's about using movement as a way to heal, to cope, even to grow.
Exactly. And one of the most powerful things about it is that it gives people a way to express emotions that they might not even have words for.
Because sometimes words just aren't enough, are they?
Exactly. Dance gives you the whole other language you're communicating through movement and expression.
And the article mentioned using dance therapy for things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's too, right? It seems almost too good to be true that something as joyful as dance could have such a profound impact.
It really is incredible. For people with Parkinson's, dance therapy can be hugely beneficial. It can help with motor skills, balance, coordination, those rhythmic movements, focusing on shifting your weight. It can really help retrain the brain and improve mobility.
So the rhythm and the movement are like building new pathways.
That's a great way to think about it. And with Alzheimer's, it can actually help stimulate memory and cognitive function. Think about it, the familiar music, the steps, even the social interaction. It can evoke memories and emotions that might otherwise be really hard to access.
It's like unlocking those memories through movement. So we're not just talking about treating specific conditions, but also using dance to improve mental and emotional well-being overall.
Absolutely. It's incredibly effective for stress, anxiety, even depression. When you combine the physical activity with the emotional expression, the social connection, It creates this amazing sense of well-being.
I don't know about you, but I am suddenly feeling the urge to get up and dance. We've covered so much in this deep dive, from specific brain regions to the importance of rhythm and timing to even the therapeutic applications of dance. It's been incredible.
It really makes you appreciate dance in a whole new way, doesn't it? It's so much more than just a fun activity. It's essential for our minds and bodies.
It really is. Next time I hear music, I know I'm going to think twice before just tacking my foot. It's an invitation, isn't it? An invitation to move our bodies and our brains in ways we never even considered.
Beautifully said. And on that note, a huge thank you to our listeners for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of dance and neuroscience. Until next time, keep those brains and bodies moving.